Coffee break with Maria. Hello, everybody. Another week, another topic, more energy, amazing coffee. What am I drinking today? Colombian coffee, of course, Americano, as you could see. We're going to sip it together, so grab your favorite cups and we get started. Topic about today. First of all, special thanks to everybody who made this event possible. We are co-hosting this coffee break with the Holland House, which is the Dutch Chamber of Commerce here in Colombia, of course, in more countries, but now in Colombia. And here to start, which is also a brand that we have founded with the Holland Alumni Network. And that is especially gathering all the internationals who are in business in the Netherlands, who are planning to come to the Netherlands for business. So this event is all about international entrepreneurship in the Netherlands. If you want to start or you're already there and you want to learn more about Dutch business culture, this is the right event for you. Just to give you a little recap, these events are happening every Monday, and every Thursdays we also host webinars, workshops, expert demos, more things that you can check in our agenda. We have more than 40 experts around the world. And today we're going to talk to Nick, our Dutch expert in everything that has to do with Dutch culture and language. Welcome, Nick. Welcome.
Thank you, Maria. Great to be here with you, drinking a cup of coffee. Cheers.
So what is your coffee? Salute.
An espresso.
Like espresso, double espresso or single?
I don't know if it's Colombian, but I think it could be Italian.
It looks like Italian.
Good to see you again.
Cheers. Okay, so Nick, what can I say about Nick? We have met a long time ago because we have our offices at WeWork in Amsterdam. And he's on the fourth floor, I'm at the first floor. And every time we're like waving to each other. Really busy people, really nice vibe. I always wanted to work together with Nick. He's recently a member of our expert pool. And we're really happy to have him as a local, as a Dutch person that not only is local, but he's like really specializes on everything that has to do with culture and language, right? What else can I say about you? Like, what else can you say about you, Nick? A little background.
Okay, a little background. So you'll notice my last name, Walker, is an English name. My father is British, but my mother is Dutch. Dus ik spreek gewoon Nederlands. I'm a native speaker to both English and Dutch. And I'm a Dutch teacher. I've been teaching Dutch now for longer than I care to remember. Since 1995, I started teaching back then. And then I set up my own company, Dutch and Such, in 2003. And I joined WeWork 3 years ago in Amsterdam and met Maria there. And yeah, she's right, absolutely. The vibe at WeWork is great. It's full of energy, and there's lots of internationals, lots of startups. And I meet a lot of startups, also people who want to learn the language and integrate into the culture, but who are also at the cutting edge of business and are setting up, whether they're tech companies or travel agents or whatever business they're in. There's a lot of need for learning Dutch and to integrate into Dutch culture. Also for people who are there as entrepreneurs wanting to start up a business in the Netherlands.
No, I was just thinking when you were talking about WeWork, apart from the fact that I miss to be in the Netherlands, ironically, because I'm in Colombia right now, due to the quarantine things, yeah, of course. I was thinking that most of the times that I have met you was next to a coffee machine. Remember?
I swear every good business contact starts at the coffee machine at WeWork. Absolutely. It's true.
And that's why we want to replicate that to this space that we have every Monday, you know, just chill, chat, conversation.
Great idea, Maria.
As an open event, you know, you see me and Nick, but everybody who's watching us right now, feel free to share, like, you know, from a selfie about you and your coffee until like any questions on the topic, you know, if you're an international who's already living in the Netherlands or you're planning to move there, you're just curious about Dutch culture, there's no question that is too stupid or too obvious, nothing. You're really welcome to join our conversation. Yeah, so let's give a little bit of an introduction on how is it to run your business in the Netherlands as an international entrepreneur. Of course, you're a Dutch person, but you're also English, and you are in a really international environment in Amsterdam. So what do you think about that?
Okay, so I would say there are so many opportunities here in the Netherlands as an entrepreneur that if you can't make it here in the Netherlands, then you're not going to make it anywhere. Right. I mean, first of all, the infrastructure here, everything is laid out to help entrepreneurs. We have the Chamber of Commerce. We have a whole set of a favorable tax climate as well. We have tax breaks for entrepreneurs. So just from a financial level and a tax level, the whole infrastructure is there in favor of entrepreneurs. But that's not my expertise. I know this from talking
just by being in the environment. Well, I can tell you a little bit about that, Nick. I came to the Netherlands 9 years ago, Colombian, in Tilburg, you know, that people said, like, where are you going? People didn't know anything about Tilburg. People always go to Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Den Haag, whatever, The Hague. And for me, as the experience as an international entrepreneur, and also as we shared last Monday with Masha, it was tough to be the weirdo that wanted to create a company after studies, because back then there was no startup visa, you know, it was only like self-employee. So I needed to do a lot of things, and only part of the information was in English. You know, so all the applications, like even my Dutch friends couldn't help me because it was like with complicated legal terms that I was like, what? So the immigration part was really difficult. And with that thing, you know, into account from my own experience, that's why we created Here to Start, you know, so we cannot be lost in translation. Meanwhile, we get there, because to be honest, Dutch is not an easy language to learn. No. And especially if it's legal immigration type of Dutch, I'm just like, what? Yeah. So that was a part for the legal perspective. But from the part of doing business, I completely agree with you. You know, Dutch people and also the internationals living in the Netherlands are so approachable. Everybody wants to help you out. Everybody wants to listen to your story, even if it's just in the idea of, you know, in the idea phase. And for example, the cities like Amsterdam or cities like the different hubs that are existing all over the Netherlands, they're really welcoming. There's a lot of communities, events happening, and people are open to share their experiences. So I think that for an international that is just landing, they will find it really easy just to go to meetups or to go to events to, you know, that are planned around co-working spaces like we do, you know, and to get acquainted with the environment, because it's really easygoing, you know, and people will be listening straightforward and trying to see how they can help you, because Dutch are by nature traders. Huh? That's something that we're talking about.
For hundreds of years, back to the Golden Age, the 17th century. The Dutch were all over the planet. We were trading with Japan in a time when no other country was allowed to trade with Japan. And we would go there and we would learn the local language and we would trade in the local language. So learning languages for the Dutch comes quite easy. I think on average, we speak 3.5 languages in the Netherlands, whereas if you look at the UK, the average British person speaks maybe 1.5 language. So we're linguists, and we adapt easily, we assimilate and learn languages. But because of that, we also expect of internationals coming here to learn our language. So simple. And actually, as easy as it is to set up a business as an entrepreneur in the Netherlands, it is vitally important that you learn the Dutch language as well, of course.
Yeah. I'm curious about what is the third language that you said? Like normally Dutch people speak 3 languages. What are the 3 top languages that people speak?
Well, German certainly is in there, and from Dutch to German is a very easy move to make. So for many people, and especially if you live in the east of Holland near the German border, most people will speak German as well. And of course, French was actually the second language in the 19th century. Dutch people with a university degree would speak French as a second language, not necessarily English. Wow. English as a second language in the Netherlands is quite recent. You know, that's since the I guess, you know, more since the 60s and 70s. Okay. When my father, who was British, and he came to the Netherlands as a professional, an ad man in the golden age of advertising in the 60s and 70s, he had to learn Dutch. There was no question about it, and he did. Very, very quickly, because all the business that he did in the Netherlands was in Dutch. And of course, later in the 80s and 90s, the culture started shifting, But even then, internationals that came to the Netherlands in, let's say, the mid-90s. So, for instance, Americans that came from Silicon Valley, from Hewlett and Packard and the big Microsoft, that came to set up IT systems in the Netherlands, they would be welcomed with open arms. And you didn't have to learn Dutch. No, 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 no. Just English is fine. Yeah. But that was very much the culture in the 90s. And then, of course, you have the noughties and, you know, the last decade, and we see that it has changed. And there's much more of an expectation that you learn the language.
Yeah.
And just as an example, the government was actually ran an advertising campaign in sort of 2013, 2014 to encourage internationals, immigrants to learn the language. And as an interesting case study, the director of the Stedelijk Museum, which is the Museum of Modern Art in Amsterdam, had an American woman was the director. She was an art historian, Anne Goldstein, and she in her role as director of the Stedelijk Museum, being a native English speaker, she thought, well, I don't really have to learn the language because everybody speaks English very well. And then as time went on, she was getting more and more criticism of the fact that she hadn't learned the local language. And the criticism was in the press as well. So at a certain point, her position was she couldn't hold the position, so she moved on. Yeah, she moved on. And then when the next director of the Stedelijk was appointed, one of the requirements was that this new director did an intensive Dutch language course in order to assimilate into the Stedelijk Museum.
It's crazy, yeah, but it's a reality. Same thing what happened with Maxima, with the Queen from Argentina.
She did an amazing job.
Yeah, she did a great job when going intensive on Dutch, and everybody loved her because of that. You know, she quickly integrated, starting with the Dutch language.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have success. Yeah. So my question, you know, like to wrap it up. So what to consider when exploring the Dutch business environment? We're really making a big emphasis on learning Dutch here because it will really help you to facilitate things. And extra tips like do business with Dutch people, find Dutch partners, find Dutch friends. You know, like when I was studying at Tilburg University, I ran a little software survey on the language and on, like, the difficulties that internationals that we have to integrate. And actually learning Dutch was easier for people than finding Dutch friends. What? Yeah, I can tell you that because people are like, you know, staying in clusters. So the Latinos, we stay together, and we can also see that Dutch, you know, you have your Dutch friends from university or from school, and people stick together. So sometimes even when you have assignments at school, like Dutch will stay together, international will stay together because then they can do it in English and they can do it fully in Dutch. Yeah. So the thing is that normally, like internationals or Dutch, there's something there, would not make a big effort in having that international or that Dutch person in the group, you know, in the group of friends. And I think that really makes a difference, like having Dutch friends from the start, and don't stick just to the people that you know because they are from Colombia or from your country as an option. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it makes a big difference if you have Dutch friends and Dutch colleagues, and it's important, obviously, to cultivate those relationships. But even in, let's say, your circle of international friends, whether they're Colombian or Spanish or Japanese, there's still there's a difference between the people who speak Dutch and the people who don't speak Dutch within that community.
Yeah,
am I right?
It's completely true. It's completely true. And you can see it because Dutch, you know, like since you also explained the whole history about how English came to the Netherlands and really settled as a language, I think that a lot of people are like, of course, they see me and they speak to me in English. I say something in Dutch and they speak to me in English, you know, because it's like, yeah, that's easier for you. And Dutch culture is pragmatical. Dutch culture wants to make things efficient. So if I would be like, joking, almost trying to say stroopwafel or something, then people will be like, what is going on with you, Maria? I make it easy for you and just switch automatically to English. And you will see it. Like I have friends that they will have a whole Dutch conversation. I come, you know, in any moment. And when I arrive in the group, they will immediately all switch to English. And I think that this is amazing and it's really nice, but it makes us really spoiled, you know? It makes the whole situation really spoiled. You see a lot of people in the Netherlands that they go to Amsterdam and they don't find even people in the restaurants or bars that speak Dutch. And they're like, we're in our own country and only English, you know? Only English is happening around, and people are like, oh, how can this be? Blah, 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 blah. You know, grumpy Dutch people. Oh.
Particularly in Amsterdam.
Especially in Amsterdam, of course, not all over. So that's why I picked to go to a place that was not so mainstream in the beginning, so I could really experience the whole thing in the south. And that was nice. And I really, my best Dutch friends are from the south originally, And I also lived in Antwerp, in Belgium. So that's Dutch with different, softer accent. So I like it. So basically my experience with Dutch is really similar to many people. I have to say that many times when I saw you at WeWork, I was like, oh my God, I need to learn Dutch. You are walking, like Nick Walker, you are a walking reminder that Dutch is important. And I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, I'm going to do it. But of course, you're so busy running your business, blah, blah, blah. And it takes time to do it 100%.
It does.
And this type of language is not to learn by Duolingo or something. You need to go for it, especially if you're a business owner. You have to. So I will do it. Boom. And that's why we also included you in the expert pool, because now we have, you know, just check via live comments. We're posting all the courses that we have for the groups. We have maximum 15 participants. I'm going to join the course and practice the accent, because that's the thing.
That's the harde G. That's north of the rivers. And you started off in Tilburg, but that's more the zachte G. It's a different pronunciation of the G sound.
But even gratis, that is a Spanish word originally. How do you say gratis? That is free.
I say gratis.
There you go. I say gratis. So we need to practice this type of different, you know, in the pronunciation. But whatever we say, there's no excuse to go for Dutch, to go Dutch, to better integrate. And I was also sharing with you the experience of me having a Dutch co-founder. You know, when I was talking with Sven or going to any meeting with him, the fact that he could switch to Dutch, or we can do an introduction in Dutch and then make it like English-Dutch meeting, was increasing the success rate, was increasing the chances that we'll close the deal. Even if people are 100% fluent in English, the fact that you just say, I don't know, alles goed, like you just break the ice with something in Dutch, people will say, okay, they will appreciate that you're making the effort, even if they know that you're not 100% fluent in Dutch.
It shows respect.
Yeah, it shows like I respect you and I appreciate, like when people see me in the Netherlands, they always, hey, Maria, salud, and they start saying, amigo, cerveza, whatever. They start telling me words to sympathize with me. So it's also a matter of empathy, you know, of empathizing. So I think it's really important to have that into account.
And also to have an idea of how we do business in the Netherlands. And we have a famous polder model. So the polder is reclaimed land. And the model is, of course, the model. This is the way of organizing a society. And because we come from a country whereby the water is our biggest enemy, and we have polders and dikes, and there's no other way really about managing the water in the Netherlands and stopping it from flooding us than all of us clubbing together and making a team effort to stop water coming in. So traditionally, you'd have the baker, you'd have the carpenter, you'd have the blacksmith, but you'd also have the doctor and the local lawyer. Everyone just working hard to create this country. So it's a very there's not much hierarchy, and if you come from a culture, a business culture, where there is a lot of hierarchy, that can be a culture shock. So if you're used to basically telling your team what to do and then you just watch them get on with it, then in some countries that might work, but in the Netherlands that doesn't work.
Like doei. People like you on board, and it's good, you know, like the hierarchy in the Netherlands is as flat as the country.
Yes, absolutely.
Netherlands, you don't see any mountain, you know, it's the same. It's the same. So you just go there and see that everybody's on board, and you don't know that this guy is rich or this guy is your boss. You don't know. The roles are like that, you know, and people just just working as a team in a really horizontal way. And that's something that I really like about the Netherlands. You know, in Colombia, it's like, oh, who's the boss? No, you're talking to the secretary of the boss of the boss. You're like, have a whole pyramid there. And they're like, hey, can I talk to this guy? Oh, no, I'm a celebrity. So it's almost unreachable sometimes. And it's like about, oh, I know somebody that knows somebody. It's like that in really collectivistic cultures, in really like cultures, like, for example, in Latin America, you really care about who you know because it's all about your network. People don't share it so easily. If I tell you, hey, Nick, do you know an accountant that we need a new accountant for this or that? You will immediately say, yeah, for sure, this is the contact, no problem. This is the environment in the Netherlands, and this is how we work it out around language and business atmosphere. I have to also ask you something before we go more in depth about Dutch and how to learn it. Also, via live comments, please make questions so we can reply to them live. I see that we already have a question, and here's like special sign for you. Great. Questions and comments. Bam, bam, bam. So great. Before we go more in depth about the Dutch and we reply to some questions in regards of learning the language, I also wanted to give some tips about what are the existing local communities that can help me accelerate my integration process as an international. Yeah. So as we mentioned before, there are many, events, meetups, communities. Do you know any community that we can recommend of? I have some. Do you have any tips on communities that are really internationally oriented? Well, everything is internationally oriented in the Netherlands, but there's focused.
Let's say if the focus is not so much on the networking, but more on the learning of the language, I would recommend looking for a community that you have an affinity with. So, for example, if you like rowing, join a rowing club, or as we say, a vereniging. Vereniging is a club. We have thousands of them in the Netherlands. It could be football, it could be rowing, it could be art, it could be music, any kind of vereniging. But if you can get on board there and do your activity, but doing it in Dutch, I think that's a really good way of improving your Dutch. Of course, you could do a course, you can, and you can also go to a community center and maybe practice with people who are there who would like to practice speaking Dutch with you. Often your local library there's the private language schools like the one that I run. But outside of that, I recommend getting into, let's say, part of a vereniging, the vereniging culture, and finding a sport or a hobby that you like, but then do it in Dutch.
So, like, I will do my origami in Dutch. That will be complicated.
Origami or ceramic, or and of course, if you're sitting there making your origami, and in the meantime you're chatting with the rest of the group in Dutch, and or maybe even if you're just listening, that's a great way to absorb the language and to connect with people, but also
get your own interest and something that for you is not stressful, like something that you really like to do or that is your hobby. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Plus, there's a lot, if you look it up on Meetup, there's a lot of communities that meet during the weekends to practice Dutch. That's also like around beer tables or coffee tables. That's always happening a lot, especially nowadays, summer times, and the weather is amazing. Right? Because the weather is now amazing. I have something to look forward to when I go back.
And also the terraces are opening up now.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm missing out now. So that's happening. Also, as international communities, of course, we created one at Here to Start. So we are also going to share the link there because we have a community that hosts regular events, including this one that is co-hosted. Also face-to-face, of course, as soon as we can do it. And every year we have something called the Here to Start Fest that we're going to be announcing soon. There is a festival on international entrepreneurship where we have different speakers on everything you need to know about arriving in the Netherlands, from practicalities to the business environment, and of course the Dutch language. So join the community so you can also meet people that already were there, been there, done that, so we can also help you as a community, peer-to-peer basis, apart from giving you access to experts on different topics. Yeah. So that's for communities. We have a question here that is, please talk about the culture Dutch feels Dutch feel as used cars dealers? What do you mean about used cars dealers? Is this something that you understand? I don't know. I don't understand this question.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Used car dealers are well, in my mind, that's somebody who is in sales and has is able to sell used cars and is good at sales. But I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So, quite negotiating everything. Okay, that basically does like to negotiate. That's what's being means.
Yeah, okay.
So the culture, we are always in the bartering and what we can do for each other, and yeah, basically people like courting. Let's talk about discounts in the Netherlands.
Okay, so yeah, we're very money minded. So at any point, if you can get courting, which is discount, we will be first in the line. Yeah. And we have a reputation worldwide to uphold, and that's of course why we're good at banking. So we have.
What is going Dutch, Nick? What is let's go Dutch?
Well, let's go Dutch means that we split the bill.
So forget about nice Latina going for the guys to pay for her. Maybe one drink. That's it, okay, girls. You need to pay on the date. Huh? It's like you need to pay. Yeah, so everybody will pay their bill, and there's also really nice applications like Tiki, mobile applications, where you go and you automatically split the bill, and you're not fighting about who paid what or we owe that. I send it to you later. So yeah, Dutch mind about money.
And then there's no strings attached, because if I've been paying for all your drinks, then you might feel like there's something reciprocal there, and a Dutch girl doesn't want that. Yeah, so that's why it's a Dutch treat. So we all pay for ourselves, and then we'll send each other a tikkie, and then it's done.
Yeah, and it's also good that we mentioned the dating environment, because it applies to everything. So it's not only in business, it's not only when I go with you to grab some beers, it's also when you're dating. And also, like you see, Dutch women are like, oh no, let me be, and I will pay. And what do you think, that I cannot pay? So it can even be offensive if you don't know how to do it properly. So yeah, Dutch and money. Important topic, especially when it comes to business. In business, it doesn't mean that you need to always give something for free, or you always need to give a discount in what you're offering as a business person. But it's appreciated when people can really see that they get more than what they can expect. You know what I mean? So that you can put something like the cherry on the cake. I can say that the Dutch like the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely, and feel that you've got a good deal, but you can always negotiate a price. There are certain places where you never negotiate a price, like your huisarts, your doctor, or your GP.
Of course, you don't go to your doctor. Hey, met courting, please courting.
And at the market as well, we don't really bargain at the food market, but definitely if you're buying a second-hand car. And maybe that answers the question there. You will definitely bargain down a second-hand car. You will definitely work the price.
That's what we meant with the question. Yeah. Thanks for the question. So just go really quickly, because we have like 2 minutes left. I want to go through some questions that we have more pragmatical. So we already know that learning Dutch for me is really key for my business. So that we already replied to the whole thing. We're going to also offer this 15 minutes free call with you. So we have free calls with Nick. So you can ask anything on learning Dutch, or if you want to just test what is your level and try to go like me, hello Nick, alles goed. Yeah. So we can just check what is your level, and we can just tell you how to go around the courses that we have. And also, maybe it's good to also talk about the test that you need to pass to stay in the Netherlands, especially as a non-EU, or somebody who's not there. So what is the involvement?
Well, this is to get Dutch citizenship, and you have to do an exam. Well, five different exams actually. It's at A2 level, so it's kind of a basic level of Dutch. But you need to know about Dutch politics, about history, a little bit about education, and about the healthcare system, and the job market, and housing market, insurances, those kinds of things. Very practical. You get a test. If you pass it and you get your diploma, then you can apply for Dutch citizenship, get a Dutch passport, or get permanent residency in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And this is a very valuable document. So you can imagine. And this year is the last year that the test will be at A2 level.
Oh.
As of 2021, this test is going to be at B1 level. So much more.
So if you want that test to be easier, you better do it now.
You need to do it. You need to do it now. Yeah.
You will find, you will find the whole prep for the test also in our website for those who are applying for citizenship. You know, so you can learn Dutch as a general interest or for business purposes, but also when you have this immigration requirement, you know, so that's also included. Can I get my business started just speaking English? I think the answer is yeah, you can arrive in English, but
get it started. If you want to keep it going, then Dutch is the key. And you have to compete with other internationals that speak Dutch, maybe speak Dutch really well. So, 20 years ago, it was acceptable. You could get by, but times have changed. And I think post-corona, also looking ahead to, let's say, a world that is much more like de-globalized, because that's something that's looks like it's happening. And it might be that the local languages will become much more important going forward.
Really important what you're mentioning right now, and I could even see it when I was working with the alumni network. Everybody who was super qualified, you know, PhD, they spoke many languages, they didn't speak Dutch. You know, many times it was so frustrating seeing such talent, and just because they didn't speak Dutch, they couldn't get that job application. There are only people that were in tech or in really specific fields, they could get, you know, like the job, they could get the job just speaking English. But in general, it's a super plus. It's a super plus to learn it. And the sooner the better. Now we have no excuse, you know, we're all at home and we can just go online and learn before landing with Nick. So no excuses. Not
now
for
is
me.
a good opportunity.
For me. We have any excuse to do this. Like, how long is the course? It's 10 weeks, right? 10 weeks only.
Yeah. 10
and then
weeks,
you get a level, right?
Every week. Yeah. So you have 15 hours of class, and then maybe add 10 hours for homework. And then, depending on what your level is, but then either you've done the basic course, or you've done the intermediate course, or maybe you've done inburgering or business Dutch course. Depending on your needs, but from all levels. So from complete beginner, starting from scratch, right up to advanced doing business in Dutch.
Which is great, because here we have a question from Juliana who's saying, like, for me as a native speaker, you know, how long do you think it usually takes to learn the language, more or less? You know, based on your experience. Of course, everybody learns different, but
about a year. About a year to get to the point that you're speaking the language.
Okay, so you need so the sooner the better, guys. Okay, I promise to do something. So next time I land in the Netherlands, hopefully soon, I can go to that beer terrace and say something amazing. Boom.
Sounds great. Sounds great, Maria.
The first sentence that I learned in Dutch, because I arrived on January 15 in 2011, was ik heb het koud.
Heel goed. Ik heb het koud. Yeah.
It was I'm cold. I'm just cold. Like, take me home. What did I do? What have I done with my life? Like that type of thing. It was like, Plus echt is really fun. Anyway. So thank you. Time is up.
You're welcome. Thank you for this opportunity.
It was really nice gathering. I didn't see you drinking your espresso, cold espresso. I hope you did it in one sip.
I finished it.
That's good. Thank you for joining us, everybody. If you have any more questions, just leave it. We're going to stay checking the questions and answering to everything via comments. And check it out. As soon as we have 15 people, we get started with our Dutch language. I'm number one. So we can start and just take advantage of the 15 minutes call with Nick, so he can show you everything, show you around, and reply to any questions, and even test your Dutch if you have any level so far. Okay, have an amazing week, everybody. See you Thursday. Thanks, Nick.
Bye, Maria.